What am I doing? We're getting ready to do a recap for the last game that was like it was literally like more than 2 weeks ago. It was like 3 weeks ago almost. That's math. Literally more than 2 weeks and less than 3 weeks. So we're gonna set that up. Things happen. Yeah. That's a pretty tempting, like... That's a pretty tempting recap right now. Let's see. So I'm gonna pause like all of these redemptions other than the top two. Okay. There was a fight until there wasn't, yeah. Did you literally do just chatting for like my entire stream? Yes. 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 The chat adventures really helped pad out that time. They take quite a lot of time, and chat gets really quiet while we're doing them, so I didn't actually chat that much, but I don't know. It was good. It was fun. Yeah. So hi, Moto. You're just in time for the recap. Those are all not... Wow. Okay. Going to go back to lurking for a bit while I try to finish things up. Sounds good. Good luck, Connor. I hope you get through it pretty well. I know it's been like kind of a sticking point today. It's been a little tough. So good luck, and thank you for hanging out so much. I appreciate it. Things happened. People did stuff. Things didn't go as planned. Yeah. Guys. Yeah, it was a whole thing. I'm just gonna like set the marker here and say that we started the recap like a minute ago or something. Sometime recently we started the recap because I like some of this. I want some of this to be in here. Some of this discussion about how off things went. Oh, I need to switch it to Pathfinder. I need to do that. Maybe? Right? I kind of want to keep it just chatting, to be honest. I should be true to what I'm doing. We'll put it to Pathfinder, it's fine. Alright, so the formal recap, it begins. Maybe. Aw, it's fun to just lurk and listen to the adventures. Thank you, I appreciate that. I'm glad. I felt a little bad when the first one like started out a little stiff, but I'm glad it kind of smoothed out. I was entertained running them, so they were good fun. Like, I need to do them more often, so I'm not as stiff at first. Misha likes the recaps. Feel bad that we stalled. Oh, no. It's been so nice tonight, guys. Don't feel bad at all. It was, like, I was about it. If I really wanted to hit the recap and then... Like, I could have hit the recap and then done the adventures, but I wanted to be higher energy for it. So, I was glad to do them, and glad to hang out for a while. It was nice. Thank you. And the redemptions were great too. Thank you, guys. No problem, like I said earlier. I mean, no. Some of them, like... Thank you, Connor. But, like, some of my friends are way better at the stream stuff. And I'm happy to learn things by osmosis as I'm like getting better just by hanging out in their places. But thank you. I'm glad. I think you're a little biased, but I'm glad. Didn't seem stiff at all. Thank you. Needing to know the full adventure lore. Where's the stream wiki? I'm not maintaining that. Someone else wants to start a wiki. We can do that, but it's all in my head. I have written like very few notes on Temple of the Moon, Tower of the Moon. Temple of the Moon. Ooh, that's a whole different thing. Don't want to talk about that. Spoilers. So, several minutes into the recap. Hi, YouTube. Hopefully the screen over there has been providing you some context with what I'm talking about. If you're confused, come hang out on my stream at twitch.tv/VGVerus. We do chat adventures and talk a lot. And other things that aren't these recap videos. Hi, YouTube. I must know about the temple now. The stream wiki would be hilarious. I don't think that's warranted, but Anyway. Alright. If we see a temple in the game, we're going in now. You guys are going to see a lot of temples on the way to wherever you're going. I'm going to make sure. Not because Ludwig is still a were-rat. Alright, so it's been a while, so let me do my best to catch you folks up to where we were, because I'm not sure that I remember. Prior, the last thing I talked to you guys about was that Solus, Moto's character, was was gaining, they've turned in a quest item, and they were gaining the Throne of Eden, which is the primary city that the party hails from, in the center of this kind of like area we've been playing in. That'll take a long time to load. Oh, not that long. This area, Eden's right in the center here. So this is like the kingdom that we've been playing in, and Eden is the center of it. The party has been romping around, slaying a couple of gods, a couple of fairly annoying gods that have been causing trouble for some of the people of Eden, and this has kind of been the culmination of that. A little bit of a stiff sequence in the city of just a lot of like politics kind of coming to a head. The party like getting the throne, figuring out who's gonna take it if they want it, stuff like that. Trying to root out. They know that there's some bad elements on the council, so they were trying to root out those bad elements and get rid of them so they could start fresh with some new appointees. Not have like assassins breathing down their neck because there's someone who was trying to kill them a bit. Just a bit. With some sand golems. And yeah, that's kind of the stage for where they were at. They turned in the head of a god. They were going to get the crown. The second to last session, they'd met with an NPC named Brass, who is kind of this like rival mercenary adventuring group, runs the Brass Scales. And they were like in competition for the head. Brass came back after the party returned with the head first, the head of Salamander, which is what was going to allow someone to take over the throne, thanks to one of the party members rolling a very high charisma check earlier to convince the council that that was like an appropriate leveled quest to just become the ruler of this city. And so Brass returned sometime after the party. The party had already like started checking out the River Keep. I'm in the wrong. Here we go. Now you can see the screen. It's been a while. Party was starting to like get comfy in the River Keep a little bit, and then like Brass showed up, basically knocked on the door and said, "Hey, I would like to talk to the new emperor." Ludwig arrived at about that time. Fear the Truck, Nathan's character. He is the acting like advisor to the emperor, to Solus. He arrived with Brass like making a scene out front of the keep, and he was like, "It's fine. I'm sure this will be reasonable. Brass, come on in, have a talk." And I'm gonna speed this up because we covered this. I'm recapping the last recap. Brass came inside. They talked. Brass like challenged Solus to a duel. Said, "Hey, if I win the duel, give me the throne." And Solus was like, I'm not gonna do that. That's stupid. No, I'm under no obligation to duel you for the throne. And then Brass is just gonna leave. And then Solus was like, but wait a minute. There's this man that we've been trying to hunt down. He's been mastering some sand golems that have been a real pain in our ass. His name is Aberus Kane. And he is the biggest threat to Eden right now. If you bring back his head, then we will entrust you with the city. You can become emperor. I will give you the crown. And so Brass was like, okay. Walked out the door, said to the crowd that had gathered, because Brass loudly trying to get the emperor's attention is kind of newsworthy in this area. They're both very noteworthy figures. Addressed the crowd standing there and said, let everyone in Eden know Brass is looking for Aberus Kane. And so word spread. Start of the next session that I'm actually supposed to be recapping. We started on a previous player character who's currently taking a hiatus, maybe quitting. Like kind of stalking Brass to figure out where he goes. Has caught wind of this. follows Brass to a pub. He clears it out, including like the bartender, everyone inside basically tells him to get out. Very, very Barrett in Final Fantasy VII at the seventh heaven. And then they like stick around, and Eve sticks around and watches for a bit. They see a hooded figure with like kind of a veiled staff, a staff like wrapped in bandages or some such, wrapped in cloth, enter. Eve knows this figure to be Aberus Kane. They recognize this person from a prior engagement. Someone going on hiatus, sadness, yeah. Gino, Eve's player, wasn't really feeling the campaign, so they just said they weren't feeling it, and I was like, okay. I mean, yeah, understandable. There were like very slow parts of my campaign. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but all this politics stuff, I've never run a very political game like this, and I made it in a way. I talked about it in the last recap, so again, I'm not going to go into it too much here, but put everything together in a way where there wasn't that much drama. There were like 10 people on the council, and I was really intimidated by running 10 people that were all like appointed by a previous emperor, and I was like, how do I don't know. I should always ratchet up drama. Don't make a council of 10 people who all get along. I made a council of 10 people with like a few people who don't get along very specifically. There were like factions in the council, and that was like a little easier to run, but it was a little slower. That's kind of the gist of it. It's like lower drama than I would have liked in a lot of cases for a lot of this political stuff. So just lessons learned for next time, to ramp up the drama, do everything you can to like keep that buzzing. Don't let it peter out. Political machinations have a lot of moving pieces, yeah. And it's easier when you're not like, there's a council room where all 10 of them are going to be and have opinions about things and be very belligerently like chasing those opinions. That's hard. I set myself up for a really hard situation, and I like didn't follow through to have it be hard. Anyway. Eve sees this meeting going down, goes and finds Solus, and says, yo, Brass and Aberus Kane are meeting up at this bar. Seems like you'd want to know. And then Solus says, Moto's character says, we'll leave it to fate. At this point, Moto and most of the party think that Brass is going to like wipe the floor with Aberus Kane. They've kind of like accepted that that's going to be the case, and that maybe they'll like lose the throne to Aberus Kane, or to Brass. Like, that's kind of what they're thinking. I'm thinking, fuck. I've already decided that Brass loses this fight. Like, I've figured this out. Like, rolled some dice. I've seen that, like, the stats of Brass do not equal the stats of Aberus Kane. Brass goes down. Like, so I'm like, I need to give them one more chance. I need to give them one more chance to like engage with this. I can't let it be like just the one situation. I mean, you were like, I'm very sandboxy with all of it, so like, it's not super like me to very obviously point you guys to an objective. You're overestimating me? I don't know. So I kind of felt bad about that. Like, all right, so the party started leaving First Hill, leaving the council building. They were going back to the keep. A previous encounter that they'd had with Aberus Kane had happened kind of like in this area. And I was like, it's reasonable that this bar is like over here somewhere. Like that this is somewhere where like either Brass or Aberus Kane have like been before, something they know about, like this is maybe their territory a little bit. That moment when you see your players do an encounter and very quickly realize things are going hard south for them, yeah. I mean, this is the players avoiding an encounter that I didn't think they would avoid. So they left, and I was like, all right. You hear a very loud noise. You hear splintering wood coming from this direction. And from there, if they ignored it, I was gonna be like, all right, that's done. Your guys they're just gonna like hear that Brass got fucked up. I probably would have rolled a die to see like if he actually got killed by Aberus Kane, but yeah, then he started blowing up my city. Yeah, literally blowing it up. Spellcasters, man. Fireball is a hell of a drug. Anyway. Or Sandball. Who knows what spell he cast. But Bar got the wall blown out of it. How's the volume? It seems okay. I'm going to turn this down a touch. That's too much of a touch. So, yeah. The wall got blown out of this bar. Party decides to go investigate. As Moto is saying, Solus gets a little defensive when, like, his city starts exploding, which is understandable for a new emperor, or a not new emperor, or just a person who likes where they live. Turned your city into a... Oh, all right. Okay. And, party went to investigate. So, I'm like, all right. We're gonna have the boss fight. We're gonna have Aberus Kane versus the party. It's gonna be great. I already know Brass is gonna get incapacitated. They, like, go to investigate. Ludwig sends his familiar up above to investigate. They walk into these alleys. They see Ludwig. Not Ludwig. Blevin. Blevin is under orders, previous orders, to attack Aberus Kane if he sees him, and familiars are not particularly smart. So, those orders just, like, maintained is what we ruled, because Nathan was interested in that result. So they see, like, Blevin drop, like, dive bomb down onto Aberus Kane, right around here. This map is obviously in the post-fight state, so sorry, kind of spoilers there. Dive bomb down and, like, attack Aberus Kane. Aberus has Brass, like, grabbed in this, like, sand fist that's coming out of the ground and just holding him and, like, squeezing and, like, crunching his bones. And then, so party sees Blevin dive bomb. They come running up this way, which, spoiler alert, I guess that doesn't make much sense. Whatever, they ran down this way. I did not have this tile here. This was supposed to be the end of it. Like, this tile was the whole map. And it was supposed to be like they start... I thought the party was going to come over here. And then, like, kind of there was going to be a long fight, like, in here and around here and stuff. Instead, the party, because of the way I framed it, and I had full control of this and could have had them come in from another angle, but the way I talked about it, it seemed like this is the alley that would have made most logical sense for them to come down. I gave them an option between this way, and they chose this way, or whatever. So they came down this way, they were right next to the boss, so I quick, like, plopped down the next aisle over. Which almost didn't even end up mattering. Anyway, so they go through, like, a round of combat. There are some sand golems that are coming through here under the control of Aberus Kane. Aberus Kane drops, like, a sand wall here to prevent them from getting to him so easily as Brass is getting crushed. They, like, jump over, climb over, and then the big fucking thing that happens is Solus casts Calm Emotions, and Aberus Kane rolls a 1 on Calm Emotions. So Aberus Kane crit fails to save against Calm Emotions. Does anyone know what Calm Emotions does, class? Cause boy, I sure didn't. It turns you non-hostile. Yes, it does. On a failure, any emotional effects that would affect the creature are suppressed, and the creature can't use hostile actions. If the target is subject to hostility from any other creature, it ceases to be affected by Calm Emotions. On a critical failure, as a failure, but hostility doesn't end the effect. So I just put palm in hands, and I'm like, yeah. Yeah, the first boss that you fought in a while, the big culmination of all of this, it doesn't make you friendly. It didn't make him friendly, but I was like, yeah, his emotions are calm. Bear with me while I figure out what the fuck that means. By the way, my brain was just Vicky Nani. Yes. He was the big boss of this section, yeah. He was like the big political, like, man behind the man guy. He, like, shit. he's not like, you know, the end of the campaign boss, but he's like the end of the Eden arc boss, which is why at the end of the session I was like, guys, I don't know what the fuck we're gonna do next. Like, I don't know. Like, still, the next session might be very quiet, and maybe we'll make it snappy and fast. I don't know. Anyway, we'll talk about that in a bit. Eden is saved. So just all the... Did they kill him or befriend him? Misha can't recall. Yeah. So, Aberus Kane is like, well, fight's over. He, like, puts down... He, like rests, gets in a restful state, gets a calm state. He's like... I don't even remember what he says. He's just like... I think he looks at Brass and says something along the lines of like, I will never entrust this world to you, basically. Which is kind of what Brass said to Solus, so there's like an interesting accidental parallel there, but yeah. It's just like, no, you're not gonna bring about the world I want, fuck you. But like the hand lets go of Brass rests on the ground and he's like catching his breath, trying, you know. He was close to 0 hit points. And like Aberus Kane just like turns and starts walking away. Cause I was like, he should run. And then I was like, no, he's really chilled the fuck out. He's not gonna run, he just thinks the fight's over. He's just calm, right? So he like turns and he starts walking away. And then there's a little comedy of like failed grapple attempts and stuff. And then I'm just like, you guys have so much time to do this. The guards are gonna catch up to you before Aberus gets away. Like, you get him. There was talk about, like, breaking his legs and shit. I forgot about that. Ooh, yeah, anyway. Or, like, breaking his, I don't know, doing a suplex to break his legs. I don't know. They immobilized him without torturing him. And they, like, yeah, that was wild. That was wild. It got to be a real weird couple of minutes. Then we talked it out, and we're like, totally, this is kind of weird. You guys get him. He's yours. He's tied up. You're good. All right. I believe they take away his spellbook. They lead him off to like Solus's family is basically the like magic mafia, the elf mafia. So they like took him off to. He would still defend himself. He didn't have to surrender at that point. Yeah, like he did try to get away. Oh yeah, you took like his spellbook and his material pouch and his staff. Took all his stuff. He didn't surrender, by the way. He was like trying to struggle and get away, but like, yeah, I don't know. I just ruled that the party got him. I am the king now, yeah. So, Solus brought him to their like family's estate, basically. They're the gala grounds outside of Eden on the south side. Very nice in the summer and spring. And like brought him to a house, and there was like a basically like a special mark that Solus drew on the house to lead to like a pocket dimension, basically, and then threw him in there, and now he's with the elf mafia in the city. And that's where he's being imprisoned, without his spellbook or his material pouch or his staff. So that's where he's at right now. He will be dealt with later. To what respect, we don't know. Like, to what degree or what outcome, not sure. And then, yeah, so that was the boss dealt with. That was Aberus Kane, done. Wasn't expecting it to work out like that at all. But that's how it went. That's how it went. It was hilarious. It was wonderful. It was wild. It was slightly anticlimactic, but hopefully that doesn't bother my players too much. Everyone seemed cool with it. Everyone seemed fine with how it turned out, you know? Although, I will say, if Eve was there, Eve would have been real mad. Eve wouldn't have been real mad. Gino would have been real not happy with the non-combat direction that it took. Would have been so spice. It was very cool. I agree, thank you. My brain was just very naughty. Very naughty. Everyone's was. Eve would have flipped her lid, yeah. Eve probably would have stabbed him. Like, Eve probably would have gone up and, finished him off, and everyone would have been like, what the fuck? Anyway. Pathfinder 2e literally changes calm emotions and buffs it. Yeah. Very significantly. It's very strong. He wasn't making it out of the alley, right? I'm a little surprised that Brass did, but, oh, yeah, that's important. Ludwig hung back, healed Brass, made a fucking clutch. Why weren't you stronger? Stab, stab. Made a very clutch charisma check, as happens to be the case very frequently, and was like, Brass, why don't you stop, man? Why don't you just, like, help us make Eden a better place? Like, stop trying to take over and just work with us. Something along those lines. And Brass, like, yeah, just real clutch, like, charisma check, diplomacy check. And Brass huffed, and after having been, like, defeated and, like, thrown off the path of what he wanted so often, he's just like, yeah, all right. It's like, yeah, all right. He was started at that moment on the path away from the destiny of the campaign, which was that determined in Microscope. Wow, that's not right. No, Trello. Determined in our world building session that Brass was going to be a bad guy and lead a cult of people very pro-old, like old god, old sealed away god people. Yeah. Let me just read this entry. As time has passed, new cities have emerged, notably in the island regions, and the first and second cities who controlled the ports, and factions, groups, cults, and also have also become common, especially in Eden. Leading a cult of the old gods is a man named Brass, who is trying to tear down anything left over from Adam's rule. Dark. Brass is Adam's son. He wanted to, like, take over. His whole thing was going to be trying to become like a god in this new world where, like, divinity is easier to reach, where, like, all this free-flowing mana is around, new divinities are rising up. Brass was going to lead this cult of very pro-old god people, like, take over Eden. He was going to have the combination of divine powers of being the old Emperor's son, being Adam's son, and being the Emperor of Eden, which, like, gives you some divine stuff. Just, like, both of those give you, like, power, give you divinity at some level. He's gonna take that and basically kind of, like, ascend to godhood over time. And that was gonna be that was my whole thing, man. That was the whole thing. That's what all of these, like, god storylines were, like, building up towards. And then they, like, yeah, Brass, just as happenstance, got, like, kind of pushed out of the way of all of his goals, and just, like, got kind of thrown off the track that destiny had for him. And yeah, Nathan, I saw you say that oddly made me happier than even stopping Kane. I just want everyone to be happy. Yeah, I think it's really cool that we reached the point where, like, just, yeah, like, Play to Find Out has now very officially, like, cut something out of the world building and changed the course of the world. So I thought that was neat. I was nerding out about that even before the session ended. I was really excited to talk to my players about that. So I thought that was fucking cool, but also now I'm... What do I do? May Scala bless you. Yeah. And don't, like, I started to plan encounters at the very end of this path, and I was, like, getting real hype about it. And then I was like, no, don't, that's a trap, don't do that. I stopped myself. I'm glad I did. But still a hype-ass dungeon somewhere that's got some hype-ass, like, god lore stuff and some flashbacks and shit, and yeah, that could still pop up. That was gonna be a battleground, and now it might just be a place. I don't know. It might never even get seen now. Who knows? Without, like, me pointing you guys there. Cool shit. So yeah, that was, like, actually the most important thing that happened in the session was that charisma check, and, like, it wouldn't have been obvious. Dope dungeon delving would be awesome for a bit. Yeah, I thought about putting something under the River Keep. I thought about that. I thought about going Pillars of Eternity and being like, there's a There's a big old dungeon chock full of like atom experiments below the keep. I might still do that, so I'm sorry for spoiling that, but it's something that's bouncing around a little, you know? Yes. So yeah, like the work I'm gonna do later is to figure out some new fronts, some new like threats coming in. You guys already know about the rot. And like, I don't know, maybe I need to seed some of those next session and be like, there's still weird shit. Still weird shit going on. BRB? Okay, Moda. Sounds good. Misha had a similar incident happen, but in a more brutal way. A player in a Kingmaker campaign encountered a big bad villain, agreed to work with them, which Misha expected, but did not expect them to immediately start murdering NPCs as the villain requested without even making any real effort to be discreet. Damn. Damn. Dark. It's interesting when things take that turn. Oh. Yeah. Island of Dr. Moreau, but with the castle, yes. And you know I want to see what the hell is behind the rot. We gotta see if that Death Cleric is dead, though. True. Yeah, there's some things. I'm excited to see where things go. And I'm kind of glad we took a little bit of a break in between and figuring things out. Yeah. And Misha, I've definitely like tried to tempt players with stuff like that before. It's never, people have never taken that option, but I think there was some close stuff. Like Solus almost hung out, would have been an evil god, but almost hung out with Salamander and became like an advisor to him instead of coming back and being Emperor to Eden or being an advisor to Eden. Anyway. What else is there? That was basically it. Solus returned to the River Keep to like with Eve to try to open some doors that were closed to him before, some doors and some chests. And was like, if someone's gonna figure it out, it's this like semi-magical rogue. They're gonna be able to open these doors. But then, as Solus like walked up to these doors, they just opened. Some text, some script flashed across them that said something along the lines of no door in the River Keep shall be closed to the Emperor. Just getting a little taste of that semi-divinity or that like magical enchantment on the keep. Who knows what's going on? And was able to kind of walk freely through these places that were locked in the keep before, after his like ascension to the throne was announced. Same with like some chests in the old Emperor's room that were basically just left to the next Emperor. They found like they found a pedestal up in a study that had like an indent in it that matches some like technology from these old floating cities that they've run into before. And there was like a crystal in Adam's stuff that also matched that same format. And they put two and two together, and the crystal, floating city crystal, I shouldn't put this much emphasis on anything, just setting people up for disappointment. This crystal matched up with the pedestal, and the crystal turns the pedestal on. That's the thing. So, I imagine next session we're gonna find out what that does. Yeah. And that was kind of the wrap-up at the end of the session, you know? So, yeah. Yeah. That was basically it. I don't know. I don't know that I'm gonna be able to... I'm getting real tired. So I think I'm gonna call the recap there.